The shoulders are the most flexible joints in your body, and there's a lot going on. You have the rotator cuff, you have the shoulder blade. So trying to understand them, especially if you're dealing with pain or restriction, can make you feel a little crazy. So we want to give you some simple ways to understand and experiment on your own shoulders so you can figure out if mobility restrictions are holding you back. There's going to be 8 stretches, and we want you to do each of them for 2 sets, holding for 60 seconds. Let's get to it. When you reach your arms overhead, your shoulder blades should move out and then rotate up. And that's what makes the socket face upwards so that you have more room to get your arms overhead. And there's 3 main muscles that prevent this from happening: your lats, your pecs, and this neck muscle, levator scap. So let's start with the lats. The lats are really good at pulling the arms down to the side, like in a pull-up, but you can see how if the lat's tight, it prevents you from being able to rotate up like we just talked about. So our favorite lat stretch is the horizontal hang. You're gonna find something about hip height, sturdy, that you can hold on to. We grab on and then sink the hips back, pushing the chest down towards the ground. And we're gonna make sure we pull the ribs in and push the shoulder forward. If you arch and push the ribs forward, see how that closes the angle? We wanna open that angle. So ribs in and push the shoulder down, and that's what opens up the lat. And then for more intensity, you can let go with one hand to get more stretch on that one side, and then you can even push with the other hand to give more. One step further, we take a step back and side bend, and that will open up the lat even more. You should feel a really good stretch on the side here, maybe in the armpit. Next up, we've got the pecs, and we always think of the pecs as these big bench press muscles. You actually have 2. You have the big guy up front, and then you also have this small one that's in the armpit, and it pulls the shoulder blade down and pulls it forward. And you can see how when we talked about it needing to open upwards, that really prevents that from happening. So our favorite pec minor stretch, that little guy there, is gonna be on the ground. We go prone, arm out to the side, really widen out the shoulder blade, and then take that arm just above the shoulder there. Drive the shoulder down to the ground and start to look away. That might be enough, but if you're wanting more, start to pry open by pushing with the other hand, lifting that other shoulder and looking up to the sky. And if you're still looking for more, take this top leg and reach it over, and that'll give you a lot of intensity there. Last up, we've got the levator scap. So it's this muscle that attaches, it's right by your traps. And so if you're doing a lot of shrugs, you probably have strong levators, but the problem here is it likes to lift the shoulder blade. So if it's tight, it doesn't actually allow the shoulder to move out and up. It just pulls it tight to the ear. So our favorite stretch here is pretty simple. Grab on to the back corner of your head and you pull the head down slightly diagonally, and also looking down, you can look at your pocket and then pull your head down to your pocket. And if you pull the shoulder down and away, you really get a good stretch there. For added intensity, you can take the other arm, lift it out to the side at 45 degrees, and really try and pull that hand away. That'll pull your shoulder blade down even more, and you'll get an even better stretch along here. Good shoulder blade movement is really the foundation for healthy shoulders, and so that's why we started with those 3 stretches. But now let's move on to the muscles that tend to pull the shoulder forward. On the front of the shoulder, you have the big pec, the front delt, and the bicep. All muscles that commonly become tight from sitting at desks, but also doing a lot of bench press and bicep curls. The nice thing is we can really stretch all 3 with one simple position. So you're gonna go to that same place you did your lat stretch earlier, take the arms behind you, grab on, and then sink the hips forward and down, opening up the front of the shoulder here. And this may feel really tight for a lot of people, myself included. I had to work really hard on this to be able to get deeper and deeper, but over time, you'll notice that you'll be able to get deeper and also open up the chest more. So your shoulders aren't rolled forward, you're actually pulling the shoulders down and back, opening up those muscles even more. And so if you go really narrow like this, you're gonna stretch more of the front of the shoulder and the bicep. But if you just widen the hands out a little bit, now you're gonna start stretching more of the pec, the big pec muscle. Same exact stretch, just wider, and now I'm getting that stretch more across the front of the chest here. So I've already given you 4 stretches and we got 4 more coming. The best way to use these stretches is try each of them once and just pay attention to see if one really stands out as a problem. And if you find that 1, 2, or 3 of them are a problem, then work on them religiously, give it a whole week or 2, and see if your shoulders feel better. For me, this next one was one that was really tight. And so I did that and I noticed that my shoulders feel better. And so now it's one of the ones that I do really regularly. So these next ones are working on the rotator cuff. We all know we should have a strong rotator cuff, but we should also have a flexible rotator cuff. So this stretch is for internal rotation of the shoulder. It's called the sleeper stretch. So you lie on your side and we're gonna take a small weight. If you don't have one, don't worry. I'll show you how to do it without one. You take the elbow out, 90 degrees in the shoulder, 90 degrees in the elbow, and then simply lower the weight. Should feel a stretch on the outside of the shoulder. And this one comes on really quick and it doesn't take much. It's small muscles. So a nice and light weight is good. Usually we'll go into this one for a few seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, and then come out, and then we'll go back in. And now if you don't have a weight, pretty simple, just use your hand. So one thing you need to pay attention to is keeping the shoulder stapled to the floor. If you start to lift it and roll, it feels like you have more room, but you're not actually getting the right stretch. So pull that shoulder down away from the ear, push it to the ground. That'll make sure you're getting the right stretch. So now let's work on the opposite, external rotation of the shoulder, the arm moving away. Take a broomstick, put the arm on the inside, and then wrap the hand around the outside and grab on. You're gonna take the elbow slightly above the shoulder, push the shoulder blade down and forward, and then the action is pull with your other hand to create leverage. Just pull that shoulder into rotation. And again, there's another one, it comes on quick and it can feel quite intense. So take it easy for the first few times. But as you start to gain some resilience, you can really start to crank on it. And the stretch can be really intense. All right, let's move on to the last rotator cuff muscle. We're gonna use a band. If you don't have a band, no worries. I'll show you how to do it without one. We're gonna grab on here, attached about hip height, and then you're gonna get into this position so that the band is pulling your arm across and behind your body. And then we take a little step. So you want a good amount of band tension there because you want it pulling, because you want to be able to relax into that band tension. Then pull the shoulder down and then squeeze it backwards and you'll feel a stretch right on the outside of the shoulder here. And the more you give into that, the more you're gonna stretch. And then like I said, if you don't have a band, no worries. You can just grab on to really anything that's about hip height. A door handle actually works great for this. We do the same thing, but now you're just gonna have to use your own body to lean over and really push into that stretch. So we've talked about the rotator cuff, the shoulder blade, the front of the shoulder, but there's one big piece that we're still missing, and that's the ability to move your spine. So our favorite stretch here is the side lying windmill. You're gonna lie on your side, and what we're working on is spine mobility into rotation. So we're gonna lie on the side, bring the knees up towards the chest like you're doing a fetal position. We're gonna take one arm back and we're gonna keep it slightly above the shoulder here. And then on an exhale, we're gonna lower that hand and shoulder towards the ground, rotating the spine here. Now, when you're doing this, make sure you keep your hips stacked. If your hips move, then you're not rotating your spine. And also make sure that you're not arching in your back, because you can fake this one by arching your back a lot and then getting the shoulder to the ground, but really you're just arching. What we wanna do is make sure the rib cage is rotating. So keep this nice and flat, hips stacked, and reach back. And so if your rib cage can't move and also you have poor shoulder mobility, what a lot of people find is when they go to do something with their arms, they end up arching in their low back and it tilts the rib cage back. So it feels like you can get your arms overhead, but you're actually just using your low back. And then also the head pops forward and all that kind of stuff. So one simple exercise that can help you with that, if you're dealing with that, is just a simple plank, but we're gonna do it in a really specific way. We're gonna pull the rib cage in, tuck the tailbone, pull the head back, and drive the shoulders forward. This. Just work on getting really strong here. So I mentioned how this internal rotation stretch was really bad for me, and when I worked on it, it got a lot better and my shoulders felt better. I'm curious to hear, which one are you excited about trying? Leave us a comment below. I actually made a full follow along routine with all of these stretches on our Strength Side membership. And right now you can try that out for free. It's the first link in the description. See you guys in the next video.